The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Good morning and welcome to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host and producer, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host today, Otto, who's a longtime volunteer, supporter, friend, the face of Project Independence, really. Otto, thanks for joining me.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
And this morning, we are talking to Roeder, who is the Program Director of CN Guidance and Counseling Services, and Kyle St. John, who is the Veteran Outreach Specialist. We're going to talk all about the services available at CN Guidance and Counseling Services and the veteran services in particular. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, we're so glad. So let's start. I mean, Otto, we were talking during the break. There's so much that your agency provides.
Yes.
So let's just give us an overview, the basics. What is CN Guidance and Counseling Services?
So we've been around since the 70s. We're started as a small clinic with like a therapist and a psychiatrist. And since then, we've just grown and grown and grown to best meet the needs of Long Islanders. So we are a behavioral health nonprofit. So we are mostly in the world of mental health and substance use services. But we come at it in a million different ways, whatever, if housing is the barrier for somebody, we have a million different residential programs for them. If medication therapy is what people need, we have programs dedicated to that. So we're really all over the place and expanding as the needs of the community expand.
Well, it's certainly necessary.
Like Kyle is more involved with the veteran outreach,
Yes.
which is a specific area within.
Absolutely.
Right. But can use all the services that you're describing.
Absolutely. So any of our programs, any way that you come into us, if you're with our residential program, our veterans program, you then have access to all the other programs at our agency. So it's good to get your foot in the door and, we can link you from there.
How do you get your foot in the door?
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth.
A few different ways. Our website, there's cnguidance.org. You can always go there. There's like that contact me button and it comes straight to, there's a team of us on the emails that get those emails and we'll respond to you very quickly. You can also always just call. The numbers are on the website. We also have our social media pages and really any way that you contact us, even if somebody contacts me, even if I'm not the one that will end up providing services or getting them linked, I will do my best to make sure that I get them linked to the right people. So however you contact us.
Would the person who has the issue, whatever it may be, mental health, substance abuse, whatever, typically be the person who contacts you, or would it be
That's a good
family
question.
member or caregiver?
And there's no wrong way to reach out for help. Certainly individuals reach out directly to us, but a lot of times you're right. We do get calls from family members, from concerned people in that person's life. So yeah.
Okay.
What
Anyway,
is there
reach
like
out.
a main number that we could promote?
516-822-6111.
Easy
I
enough.
said that with
That's
a
good-
question mark at the end, but I'm pretty sure. Period. I think
That's a good
Yes.
straightforward number.
Kyle, you obviously, we've read that a very important part of the program is that you are ex-military. You served in several overseas tours. You were in combat. So you're a peer to a lot of people. One of the things that we've always heard here, like in my era, I was in the Navy and like every other person was in the service. Nowadays, it's very few people who were in the military. And how, like your outreach, organizations that I know are having almost impossible time getting young veterans to participate, American Legion or any of the older organizations. How do you identify, like I read that there's 150,000 veterans on Long Island. Of the 150,000, how many would be in the more current bracket?
The
if you
younger
will?
veteran, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So the veteran demographics on Long Island is diverse. Significant portion are ages 65 and older. However, that reflects the national trend of the aging veteran population. The region has seen an influx of veterans from more recent conflicts, including guys like me, people who served post 9/11. It is a big challenge in identifying these individuals. I'm a member of the VFW myself, and there's out of the 200 members we have, there's about 5 of us that are from
Yeah.
Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that is, the whole stigma between, seeking help, and a lot of the younger guys, um, they're just busy with their lives, and they don't have, I don't know if it's time, family, that gets in the way, but it is an issue that we are trying to fix. And
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, American Legion, VFW, whatever, were almost more like a social club uh, where people who had common backgrounds were able to gather. There's no question. I mean, it was a lot of social activity in those places. And I don't think the younger people are looking for that because they have enough stuff going on.
that is true. So I recently became a member of my VFW over in Huntington, post 1469, Huntington Station, actually. And I got out of the service in 2009, and it took me all these years to really go over there. But once I became a member, I feel home. It feels so good to sit down with the guys in a social setting and talking about our experiences. We have pool tables, and it's just nice to chat with other people that experienced what you've been through.
Right. And though there's still the problem, like you said, there's 5 out of 200. That's a small percentage, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like it's less than 1%, I think, of the population that is involved with the service. Whereas back when you were drafted, I was drafted.
Mhm.
I volunteered for the draft because you either were going to go now or later. So I wanted to go earlier. One of the questions I'm going to ask you is, has absolutely nothing to do with any of these things.
I was like, just shoot it out
And I
there.
think people would find interesting is that you were a paratrooper, parachutist. To me, that first time you jumped out of that plane had to be quite a shocking experience. How about giving us a little?
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, during my service, I served in the Army. I was a 13 Bravo. I was a field artillery crew member. I volunteered to go to airborne school. Both my grandfather and my uncle were paratroopers with the 82nd Airborne
So it's a
Division.
genetic
Yes.
problem.
It is a genetic problem.
It's a gene they were all born
Yes.
with.
And during my service, I received certain awards: the Army Achievement Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, the Overseas Service Medal, the NATO Medal, the Combat Action Badge, and the Parachute Badge. So to answer your question, I volunteered not only because my family would disown me if I didn't volunteer to jump out of perfectly good airplanes. They do have a couple of perks, like you get an extra $150 a month, which is a lot for your average GI. But my first time, it was very dark. That's because my eyes were closed. Okay. And believe it or not, so when you go to jump school to earn your wings, it's a 3-week school, and you have to, at the end of the 3 weeks, you have to successfully complete 5 jumps. If you break your leg on the 4th jump, unfortunately, you don't get pin your wings. So you have to land 5 times. The second jump was worse than the first jump because I knew what to expect. But yes, jumping out of a perfectly good airplane is a wild adventure, and I take pride in telling people. To this day, I was young when I did it. I was 18 years old. Like I was saying before, I can't even look at a skyscraper without
Is the
being
worst
unsteady
part
on
the
my feet.
landing or the actual
So-
first jumping out?
So it's a lot different than your traditional parachute jump from a high altitude. Paratroopers are meant to get to the ground fast, so we jump from anywhere from 500 to 1,200 feet.
Whoa.
And with our parachute deployed, we fall 22 feet
Oh my
per
God.
second. And when you land, you never land on your feet. There's 5 points of contact. There is the balls of your feet, the calf, the buttocks, the push-up muscle.
I've seen that on TV.
Yeah. And so the landing is it's not the worst, but a significant amount of people do get injured on the landing.
It's not like landing on a silly mattress.
Definitely
Yes,
not.
I don't
No.
think they're rolling out the mattress for them.
I think
Yeah,
that's-
you're landing in a pile of fire ants or yeah, maybe
No.
thorns, sometimes a tree.
Wow.
Well, I mean, we see old movies of what went on during some of the wars, and you're not always landing in friendly territory either while you're at it. And you see every now and then somebody gets caught on a tree or whatever. I'm assuming that those types of things can happen at the tree part, where I don't know how you steer a parachute.
You steer with the wind. You got to slip. You slip away. You have a thing called risers that connect to your canopy, from your shoulders to your canopy, or your harness to your canopy, and you slip into the wind. So if the wind's blowing left to right, if you pull on the right riser, the wind's going to catch your canopy and you're going to go faster. So you have to pull the opposite way to kind of
Well, Otto could
slow
ask
down
you
a
all
little bit.
day about the logistics of jumping out.
Well,
But
who
what
was
I
it?
think is really interesting,
George
though,
Bush
Yeah.
Senior, I
Yeah.
think, was in his 90s when he
There
actually
you go.
jumped
Otto,
out.
I think
That's
Otto is
true.
just looking for himself, which you off air, Otto, you can go into that. But what I love is that, a lot of we've been interviewing a lot of different veterans, especially for November. And, what I think is so special about your organization, I love that they got Kyle, because I do believe in the benefit of this kind of peer on peer, they know the best. So
Mhm.
what kind of veteran services? I know there's the Bridging the Gap program is one of them. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So our agency received grant funding from the Mother Cabrini Foundation to create our program, Bridging the Gap. It's a program which focuses on bridging the gap between military connected individuals and the mental health and substance use resources that they need. At CN Guidance, we have 3 veteran peers on our team. There's myself. We have Tabitha and Lisa Marie. They're 2 Navy veterans. And we're a team that focus on doing outreach throughout the community and engaging with the veterans who may need the support. When dealing with veterans, it's good to have another veteran who's
Yeah,
walked in
absolutely.
their shoes, who, walk the walk, talk the talk. So it's a great program.
Do you partner like with the VA? And frankly, we've had like Northwell has a program where they try to help
Yeah, the
people
military
get a
liaison
job.
services.
Do you partner with other organizations to?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of the people that I do talk to out in the field are unsure on, how to get benefits, where to go for help, how to get a military discount. So I will guide them and I'll connect them to places like the VA. I will connect them to just other veteran agencies out there.
Right. So one of the big things in reading about what you do is you also would get very involved with the mental health or substance abuse problems that a veteran might have if they have problems from after experience being in the military.
Yeah.
Give us a little, story on how does that work out?
Sure. So, I believe that the importance of peer support is, one of the most vital aspects of our work. Is, veterans often feel isolated, and there's something powerful about being able to talk to someone who truly understands their experience. Now, I'll share a little personal. I'm not shy. I can talk to anybody about it. I got out of the service in 2009 after a 15-month deployment to Afghanistan, and I was in a dark place. When I first came back, the doctors, without asking me what I saw, what I did, what happened, they just forced medication upon me, and I was dependent on that medication. And when I got out of the military, I had nobody to give me that medication. So I turned to alcohol and I was drinking heavily. And I talked to a person who was a Vietnam veteran, And he was telling me his story and how he overcame his challenges, his obstacles. And he told me he was, he hit the bottle a lot, started drinking. So with that, I took his words. I got the help that I needed, and that's the whole point of this, is to reduce the stigma that it's
Yeah.
okay to not be okay.
Mhm.
And good things do happen because I did receive the treatment, and I did go through these things. Later on in life, I became a police officer, and now working for Central National Guidance, paying that forward to help out the next guy.
Well, I want to thank you so much that just in a nutshell, and thank you for sharing that, because I think shows the importance, a peer helped you, find, the path to getting clean. And I think that that's such a godsend, frankly. So after the break, we're going to continue talking with Caitlin Roeder, Program Director of CN Guidance and Counseling Services, and Kyle St. John, Veteran Outreach Specialist, all about the CN Guidance and Counseling Services and Veteran Services. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
And I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
And then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host, Otto Luce, and we are going to jump right back in with Caitlin Roeder, Program Director of CN Guidance and Counseling Services, and Kyle St. John, Veteran Outreach Specialist, about the CN Guidance and Counseling Services and Veteran Services. And before the break, we touched upon, Kyle, again, thank you for sharing your story, because I think that that's what really helps people personally, and this peer support and reducing the stigma across the board is just so beneficial, really.
Really, and it doesn't just apply to veterans, it applies to people who maybe have some other health issues or family issues or who knows what, traumas that lead them down a bad path.
Yeah.
I know during the break I mentioned to you that I have two people in particular. One was my wife's uncle, and another one was my very good friend's brother, who was in Korea. My wife's uncle was in World War II as a corpsman, and both of those people really never got help, and they were pretty heavy duty alcoholics for the rest of their lives. So to be able to get support from peers and in any situation, to get through that without your life just flying by in an alcohol bottle or drugs or whatever the problem, the fact that you're able to say you got through that and you can help others do it, I think is a very powerful thing, as does the organization have other
Yeah.
people, I'm sure.
We just heard it from Kyle, how powerful it is, even just hearing his story and how it impacts us. Imagine going into a treatment facility and you're struggling, you're in crisis, and you hear that story from somebody. It's very powerful, and obviously specific to veterans, Kyle is able to bring that. But throughout our agency, we have over 60 different programs. So throughout the agency, a lot of those programs also have peers that are either, focused on the mental health, the substance use piece, or both. And they have lived experience. They come to the table with their lived experience that makes them wonderful at what they do, and gives them like a knowledge and a skill set that maybe many of us don't have. And they're able to use that lived experience in their treatment. Whereas a lot of other, social workers, mental health counselors, we're a little more like boundary driven and just focus on the individual. But this is part of the peer model, is like they're supposed to use their lived experience because it connects in a different way, and it, like you said, helps break down those barriers.
Yeah, and
that
I
the
think it's
person
like
knows yet.
showing, because especially when you're dealing with addiction or,
Mhm.
some kind of mental health crisis, seeing that the other side,
Absolutely.
is
Giving that
immediately, I mean,
hope.
any just human nature, right? Like that is something that you want to have that
100%.
connection with. And
Yeah.
so with it, so what services, so if a veteran, would they would come just in a crisis and you would connect them, like how does it all play out?
So Kyle and our other two fabulous veteran outreach specialists they do the outreach, the first engagement, really just kind of like opening the door to check in. Hey, are you okay? How are you doing? What can I help you with? Sometimes they help them with like concrete things like you need help setting up transportation, you need food for the upcoming holidays. They can jump in and help with that. But they also kind of start the conversation of, how are you doing? I know, things might be tough. How are you coping? I know when I got back, it was tough. They're able to kind of open that discussion. And from there, can then identify if they really are struggling, if they need mental health support. We have our clinic, our CCBHC, based out of Hicksville, that we can get them linked to, basically overnight, we get our foot in the door. And they can be linked to a therapist, a psychiatrist, a whole team of people, peers on that team as well. So they can jump in and provide that kind of support. Substance use support, we also do that at our clinic, but we also have specialized substance use teams that can give that kind of support also. So Kyle and his other veteran peers are kind of like the first foot in the door, but they can also stay with them the rest of the way. We've had Kyle and his colleagues will accompany people to their first intake appointment if they're nervous about going to the intake or, unsure, meeting with a new therapist for the first time. We can accompany them. So like whatever help they need to get their foot in the door. And then we have
Well, I
a lot more to
have been
do.
involved with family situations where somebody, has such a problem that you can't have the family around because they're going to steal from the family or the friends or whatever in order to take care of their abuse drug problem. And when you're in that scenario, not just the person, but the people, the family, the people who love that person really are at a loss to do what, you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And between that and the stigma that might be connected with this thing, it's not always easy, I don't think, to get the person who needs the help to get the help,
Yeah.
And to piggyback off of what Caitlin was saying, you don't have to necessarily have a issue with mental health to get our services. I'm a peer support specialist. I take pride in it. On several occasions, I've went into a person's home where they live alone. They don't have nobody around, and I'm like a friend to them. I have conversations with them, ask them how they're doing. We talk about military stuff because that's what my veterans love to talk about, and just normal conversations that they don't have. With
No,
other
and that's
people.
so incredibly important, because through our Project Independence program too, that's what we always say, come to us before the crisis, right? So this way you have a relationship with someone. So God forbid if, something does go south or, whatever it is, you already have that relationship, and it's so, I mean, an incredible service really to the community.
Well, Christina's big on golden nuggets.
I
all
am
right?
big on golden
And you
nuggets.
said one, and I read it, before. It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And if you're not okay, let's see what we can do to get you okay. We'll work together. A lot of us aren't always okay,
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's
right.
okay.
Exactly.
Nobody's perfect. Let's put it that way. Some people have a little bit of a heavier problem, and that's okay too, but it's okay to try to get help. I grew up in a generation where that was a sign of weakness. You take care of this, tough it up, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't always work. And there's nothing wrong with getting some guidance
Absolutely.
and support when you have something.
And I think we've come a long way with stigma and finally are talking about it a little bit more, but that stigma is still very real and very deep. And, people still see it as a personal weakness or a flaw, or what did that person do to get, these are diseases that we're talking about. These are really real things, and you need real professional support for it, and that's okay.
That's it though. Support. There's a different topic altogether here, but it connects a little bit, which we should talk about your new senator that's coming up.
Yes.
But I'm a believer that we really messed up when we closed down a lot of places and we called them. I think the reason was we called them insane asylums, nut houses, this and that. And I've heard Paula from Project Independence talk about we should have places called therapeutic housing so that people who go beyond your center have to have another place to go.
Yeah.
So,
And I think deinstitutionalization certainly was a good thing for a lot of people.
Right,
There
of
were a lot of
course,
people
right.
that didn't need to be
Yeah.
locked up indefinitely and could do well in the community. But it went from, institutionalization to
Nothing.
not a whole lot
Right,
of
right.
funding.
Yeah.
And agencies like ours are trying to fill in the
Yeah,
gaps
cover
and
those
use
bases,
what
yeah.
funding we have and what we can provide for the community. But we need more funding, more support, and more people to buy into it and know the value of our
yeah, I mean,
services.
like not long ago in the city, somebody stabbed 3 people and he had all kinds of severe mental health problems. People like that, for their safety, their own good, and for the safety of society, really need a therapeutic housing environment to be in so that they can live a decent life.
Yeah.
But I think, what's one thing, we always try to find like the silver lining and stuff. We
which
talked
has
about this,
absolutely nothing to do with
and
it.
we talked about this during COVID, was that, I do believe that the mental health conversation started to ramp up. I even saw, with seniors, I've been with the program for, 15 years now. And I remember like if we tried to do a program on mental health 15 years ago, it was like, no one's coming.
Right.
Like nobody wants to talk about mental health, and then I got speakers, over the years, like it was just last year. And there were so many great questions. So I actually saw, the trend. And I think, yes, of course there's still a stigma, but even little kids now, I mean, my friends' children are in school talking about mental
My
health.
kids come home with,
yeah.
meditation
Right.
things that they're reading. I'm like,
It's
this
incredible.
is so cool.
It
I
is.
did not learn
Yeah.
that in school. Nobody
Right.
taught me how to meditate.
Yeah,
or
we didn't.
talk
I
about coping
missed that.
skills in
Right.
school. So it is
Yeah.
slowly but surely we're moving forward.
No, and
but
I
we
think
still have
the
a long way
education
to go.
piece that you guys are doing, that's why I love having the show, to have agencies like you guys on to, really, I think that that's a huge part of breaking it down, right? It's
The
just
more
to
we talk
educate
about it, yep.
people and realize the wonderful services
Yeah.
that you provide. And I know you said that there is a host of other services. So
Yes.
what else does CN Guidance provide?
So since you mentioned educating people
Yeah.
about mental health, we have a pretty big training department that can go out into the community and provide mental health first aid training. Which is
I took a mental health first aid training.
Did you
yeah.
take it with us?
No, we took it
maybe
with
not.
Family and Children's Association. Sorry,
Yes.
but yes. Next time I'll take
Anybody
you
that
guys,
can
yes.
get out
Yeah.
and provide it. We go out into the community. It is basically like CPR, like first
Yeah.
aid for mental health. And it's not geared towards professionals. You don't need to have a
right.
clinical professional license. It's for
Mm.
anybody that interacts with the public, anybody that knows anybody, which is everybody.
Everyone, yeah.
You might run across somebody that's
No.
struggling, and to know how to identify that person that's struggling, know what questions to ask, know if they really do need immediate care is so important. So that mental health first aid, we are out and about in the community, going to PTAs and police departments, like anybody who will have us come in, and it's a free training. And there is also mental health first aid specific to veterans too, which we provide as an agency.
Veterans are people just like everybody
100%.
else.
So there is
Yeah.
there is
Like
a
a specialty,
specific
yeah.
mental health first aid for
But
veterans.
the first aid idea for mental
Yeah.
health is like, okay,
Yep.
now what? What do I do?
Absolutely. So that's a tremendous training. And then something else that we're out and about in the community providing for free is our naloxone trainings. Sometimes you hear it as like
Yes.
Narcan trainings, but naloxone trainings, it's a medication that can reverse the effects of opioid overdoses. Again, anytime, certainly us in this field, in this population, I always have my Narcan kit with me. We're all trained day one when we start, but anytime you leave your house or you're in your house with anybody else, you might run into somebody that's overdosing. You never know. And we save lives with this naloxone. So that is something that is big with like getting out into the community. Anybody who will be naloxone trained, it takes like 5 minutes to get trained. You get the kit and you can save a life.
And I think the big thing with the naloxone training is people, often think that, you have to actively see somebody overdosing on heroin or fentanyl or something, but that's not the case at all. It could be, grandma, took the wrong pill out of the
Right.
medication cabinet and now she's overdosing.
Yeah.
Or
No, it's such a great point.
child, eat something
Yeah.
off the floor on accident. you
Yeah.
know?
With naloxone, you don't have to be sure that they are overdosing from opioids. If you gave it to somebody accidentally, they were in a diabetic coma and you didn't know it, and you gave them naloxone, it's not going to help them, but it's not going to hurt them.
See, that's
that
such
really
an
took the
important
edge
thing. Right.
off the
That takes-
first time.
right,
They
'cause
said
that's
you
what's
could give it
scary.
to
You don't
somebody
wanna
that's
hurt
pregnant, you're
someone.
not
Right.
going to hurt them.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't
Yeah.
help them.
Yeah.
But you're not going to hurt them. But if you guess right and you see somebody that really is overdosing, it will save their
Yeah.
life.
Oh, well, that's a great point. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I wasn't even aware of that. 'Cause
Yes,
that
it is a
so
little scary.
Right,
Like,
like,
oh no, what if
yeah,
I
right.
make the wrong call? You
Yeah.
can't make the wrong call.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
you waste your
Yeah.
naloxone, but you're not going to
Does
hurt
this ever
anybody.
lead into the path of people who have dementia or Alzheimer's, whatnot, as in the crisis category?
So we do have quite a few programs at our agency. Again, as we come across populations that we know are struggling and maybe there's not enough support, certainly the aging population is one of those. We do have a couple of programs focused on that. One is our Linkage program, which is basically like a short-term jump in, help the person that's over 55. That's the only over
Criteria.
55 and in Nassau County. That's the criteria. We have nurses, social workers, counselors that can jump into the home, do some assessments, provide some short-term counseling, and then get them linked. Like, okay, this person maybe is just dealing with food insecurity. Let's get them linked to food deliveries. Or maybe they're just really lonely and struggling with not having anybody, a lot of socialization. So we'll link them to social programs. So that's an amazing program that we have. And a couple of other ones. Connections to Care is one of those programs that, again, is for just the aging population. And we will jump in and assess to see what you need help with and link you however we
That's
can.
a lot, frankly, like Project Independence. You with Project Independence, they get hooked up with a nurse / social worker, and Project Independence may not do what you need,
Right.
but they will hook you up with.
Yes, we do it short term and then link
Yeah,
you.
that's
and
great.
Project Independence is kind of the same thing,
Yeah.
in a smaller scale, I would say,
Yeah.
But
No, because I think that's so important. And that's what we always say on the show too, is that there's so many organizations. We're very fortunate to live online where there's like a whole bunch of
Yeah.
resources. But the issue is like you don't even know where to begin, right? So when you're the average person, you're like, I know, listen, I've worked in the field for so long, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important, organizations like yourself to really bring that awareness, and the linkage program certainly,
Yeah.
with the recurring, because where to bring them, especially in this mental health kind of crisis,
well,
mode.
this outreach, like you do for veterans and whatnot, I've been involved with this thing now from the beginning, and I've learned a lot, I think, during this period of time. But it's amazing how many people know very, very little about what is available around them. They really have no clue. And then in a lot of cases, they don't really want to know because they don't want to use
It's
charity.
it's a tough
It's
topic
tough,
too.
yeah.
Mental health, substance
I mean,
use.
it's
These
all
are
the outreach.
heavy
deep
stuff,
topics, heavy
yeah.
topics, not always
Yeah.
the most fun to talk about. But then we're doing a disservice by not talking
Yeah.
about them, because then for those people that are struggling, they don't know where to turn to,
Yeah.
or don't know if my family member's struggling, I don't know where to turn to. So the more we get our programs out there and name recognition, people know where to turn to, reach out to us. There are, like you said, other fabulous organizations doing this work. I, of course,
Yeah, I mean, outreach
love
is,
seeing
is
guidance,
a word
but-
that it's a pretty strong word if you think
Yeah.
about it, in terms of people. Like we know people, a lot of people that don't even know Project Independence
Right.
exists.
Right.
Uh,
That's why we
and-
wear it on our shirts.
Yeah,
We're
I
out
like
in the
that.
community,
Yeah.
Kyle,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of teams that do a lot of like tabling events. Anywhere we're invited to, anyone that will take us, we set up a table and we just hand out flyers. And you might not be in crisis now, you might not need us now, but maybe a couple of months down the road, when you're struggling, you'll think, oh, remember I met that guy. Let me see if I have his
word of
business
mouth
card.
and, you
Word of
know,
mouth, absolutely.
You try to help people if you know a little bit,
Mhm.
but it's very hard sometimes. People really don't want help in some cases. It's, from veterans, I mean,
Absolutely.
some just, they really don't, I don't know what it is. I mean, it's like the stigma thing, I guess, again, but the
Well, you're
problem
taught to
with
be
that
rough
is
and
that
tough in the military,
Yeah,
You-
right.
you never want to complain.
Yeah, that's part of it, it's complicated.
Yeah.
That's why mental health is a complicated field.
It
You
is.
know, this thing we walk around with is,
Yeah.
pretty
It's
complicated.
exhausting. You don't want to be inside my brain for too long either. But I do. And I want to encourage people that the number that you can call, if you can give that out again, the main number.
516-822-6111. And our website is cnguidance.org.
There's one in here that I had the exposure to over the years is Health Insurance Navigator.
Yes.
If somebody
Well,
wants,
Otto, that is a great topic. That was on my list,
We love
but we're going to need a
insurance.
break. After the break, we're going to continue talking with Caitlin Roeder and Kyle St. John from CN Guidance and Counseling Services, all about the programs and services that are offered there. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host, Otto Los, and we're going to jump back in with Caitlin Roeder, Program Director of CN Guidance and Counseling Services, and Kyle St. John, Veteran Outreach Specialist, all about CN Guidance and Counseling Services, and especially their veteran services. So before the break, Otto had mentioned the Health Care Navigator. So tell us a little bit about what that is.
Everybody loves talking about insurance. So this is actually one of our few programs that is not focused on mental health or substance use. You don't have to be struggling with anything. You don't have to have any sort of diagnosis. We literally just have a team of experts on the New York State marketplace. So if you are eligible and looking to get insurance through the New York State marketplace, they will walk you through the process. They will create your login with you, sit with you, upload documentation. If anybody's been on the New York State marketplace, it's a little bit intimidating and overwhelming. This is, yes, anybody. You don't have to be connected to our agency. This is, friends, family, people out in the community. And it's just to help people get insurance. So they are fabulous. They don't get intimidated by it like the rest of us.
No, we
do.
always say what's so nice about these services, because Otto and I we love that in different fields, because so many things that when you're asking for help is skewed, right? Someone's got a personal gain, some kind of financial gain. So you don't know what they're telling you, but to actually be able to sit down with
you're
someone.
not selling
right.
anything.
This because it's funding through the Department of Health, but
right?
It's through our agency, so we don't have a stake in the game. We don't care what insurance
your
plan you pick. It's whatever works for you,
free,
whatever's the most affordable. It's free, yes, and it's also provided amongst our 3 navigators. They speak 7 different languages, so it's very accessible. They are out in the community.
You speak all of those?
I do not.
She said it's actually all
my language is not part of that 7. But we have a wonderful team.
Oh, that's great. That's such a wonderful.
So
because I saw that and I was like, what a
guidance. Like we get involved with High Cap. All right, they have a group that are very involved with senior. When you have Medicare, now you have to have supplemental insurance, and how do you navigate your way through that?
And what plan and open enrollment.
It's overwhelming. It's stressful.
So this is also part of that, or is it primarily anybody in any age bracket?
Any age bracket. It's not specific to seniors. Yeah.
Okay.
That's great. That's
you don't happen to have that for law firms, do you?
I don't think so.
I would like.
We've been trying to find that person.
I would like to get some legal guidance for where somebody's
we can
not
link you
selling
to some lawyers.
And since we're on the topic of insurance, I just want to let everybody know and the viewers know that the services that I provide with the agency, first off, a lot of people out there to get benefits, they want to see a DD 214 and they want to see an honorable discharge. With our program, it doesn't matter if the person was honorably discharged, dishonorably discharged, other than honorably. And and I'm never going to ask you for insurance information to provide peer support. Just a phone call away.
Yeah.
That's
I think that's a good thing, frankly, because I had an honorable discharge, but sometimes when you're young, you could do something stupid and you don't end up with an honorable discharge, but then you really still need help. So, do you have to spend the rest of your life paying the price for that? I never thought about that, frankly, until you just brought it up.
No, and I think,
You
because
know.
that's something too that every time we're talking about veterans things, it's combat versus non-combat, and it's like, listen, at the end of the day, you all served our country. And I want to thank you again, Kyle,
Yeah, I mean,
for
I
your
was
service.
Cold
and everything like
War,
that, yeah.
right? We were in the Mediterranean during the Suez crisis and whatnot, but, I didn't see combat. It's not like what you did.
Yeah, but
I
it's
gave up 2
service is
years
service.
of my life,
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
you
that's,
sign dotted line.
and I think
raise your right
everyone is
hand.
entitled to get the benefits and the
Absolutely.
help that they certainly need. And I saw an exciting news that was in Newsday,
Yes.
your new center.
Our community crisis center, our CCC. We just had our groundbreaking last week. So we broke the ground. It's not quite there yet, but we have plans. It'll be in hopefully the spring of 2025. And essentially it's like an urgent care for mental health.
And where is this located?
Hicksville,
Hicksville?
950 South Oyster Bay
Okay.
Road in Hicksville.
What's that one?
950 South Oyster Bay Road in Hicksville. It's the CCC. So it's an alternative to going to the ER. We have an alternative for our physical health to going to the ER. If I'm, all of a sudden have some sort of infection or whatever, and I need to go, I'm not going to go to the ER because I probably don't want to go and sit in an ER for a while. I go to my local urgent care. There's nothing like that for mental health. People are struggling. They know they need help and they go to the ER. I think the average wait time is like 4 hours in an ER, which is awful. And then often you get seen, they'll quickly assess, as long as you're not homicidal, suicidal, they'll send you home, maybe send you with a flyer, say, follow up with this person. And people never do. The follow-up, it's abysmal, the statistics.
You're not showing
with that.
any physical problems.
Right. So this is an alternative. You come
That's
into
great.
our center. It is staffed 24/7 with RNs.
Oh, so it's 24/7 too.
It is okay. 24/7, 365 days a week.
Yeah.
Those are
That's a
not
lot.
great with
That's
numbers.
a
Those
lot,
are numbers.
yeah.
Basically, we're open every day,
Yeah.
all day. Always will have nurses. We have
Wow.
prescribers. We have peers. That's part of the model too. And it's a nice alternative to going to the ER. You're dealing with people that are just there, mental health
Yeah.
professionals. You can stay for up to a day.
Okay.
The rooms, we have them set up as hope rooms. They
Oh,
are
that's awesome.
beautiful. We have places where you can go and exercise a little bit. We have a place if you come there with your children and you're in crisis, but you have your kids with you. We have a family room that we'll have for you, and we'll give you that care and also help then get you that aftercare too. And again, by having your foot in the door with us, we have so many resources that we can link you to and make sure that you make those follow-up appointments, or, out in the community, we can link you to, and really, help in getting you linked to treatment, those people that really need help. And
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
you
I mean,
raised two
that's
things in my
incredible.
mind,
Yeah.
right? One, it's a great idea,
yeah,
really great. I think it's really much needed. But problem two is the marketing. I was in marketing and sales all my life. And okay, now you have this wonderful setup,
yeah,
but how do you get everybody to know
this
that
is the
if-
marketing. No,
Yeah. If you have a mental health
yes,
problem?
we've been doing a lot of that, revving up to this groundbreaking. We've been going out into the community, even in meeting with police departments throughout the
Yeah.
island to let them know, like if you get a call,
Exactly,
you can
right,
bring
word
them
of
to
mouth,
our
right.
center instead of bringing them to an ER. So that's been a lot of this, as we're revving up to the groundbreaking and actually building this facility, we've been doing a lot of community outreach and making sure all of these residential programs throughout the island know if have somebody that needs a little bit of help, bring them to us instead of needing to
Well,
rely on the ER.
and-
So
Oh,
that is a big
incredible.
part of it to get
To
the
get the
word out
word
there
out.
so
Yeah.
they know.
Yeah. And then part two, frankly, you said that this is up to a day. And then one of my past experiences was, okay, now what?
Yeah.
You handle the immediate crisis, but how do you handle the long haul? What options do they have after that?
Right.
And if you can guide people down that trail, if you will,
Yeah.
that's also very important.
Yes, I think it'll be unique based on
Like
the
the-
people that we're
right.
seeing, very
Right, and what's happening,
individualized,
Yeah.
Yeah.
depending on what is causing your
Mhm.
crisis or what sort of support you need. But we mentioned before, the crisis, community crisis center, or CCC, is also attached to our CCBHC, which is our clinic. So we will be able to get people like right in the door to get appointments, to get linked for ongoing therapy, ongoing medication, if that's appropriate. We have housing throughout the agency. We have case management. We have our MRU, our mobile recovery unit, which is, we mentioned it before, but based focus on substance use. So if that's it, they will come to you. They will do a nice warm handoff. So whatever you need help with, we will try to make sure we provide
So
those
the big
handoffs.
picture is mental health and substance abuse is your primary focus.
Yep.
Veterans have a special focus, and yet everybody else also has a focus. So
Yeah.
if you've got a mental health / or substance abuse problem, it would be worthy of calling.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Or
and
if
it's
you
just
have
this urgent care thing. I mean,
Or
just,
if you have a family member or
of course,
a
right?
grandchild who has a problem.
No, but I think
Mhm.
the urgent care, it's just so huge because I know from just experience and working, that's always the thing is like, where do we bring this person who's in this crisis, you know?
Mhm.
And it's just, you know, it's such a godsend. I mean, it's really going to be an incredible service
Yeah.
to the community. And certainly as you know, ramp it up, we would love to do all of our part of promoting it. And it's just
We
so
appreciate that, yeah.
really, and now with this mobile crisis, I know you touched upon that. So is that, what would they call the same number for that, or how does
Yes.
that work?
So our MRU mobile recovery
Mhm.
unit, it is literally an RV. At this
Mhm.
point, I think we have two. We have like a big RV and a smaller RV. They drive around the community, and they will go to places where, you know, you might be able to target some folks that might be struggling. They'll park outside of certain areas and certain railroad stations and stuff throughout the community. And we have our big old van there. Hope starts here, our logo there. And we'll tell people, do you need help? Do you want to talk to somebody? Are you struggling? You can go right into the RV. We do telehealth services from the RV. We can help bring you to your appointments. We can meet you out in the community. And that really is, we always touch on the mental health piece, but this is really focused on the substance use piece too, for people that are struggling. And that's also the team that really does a lot of what we mentioned before with the naloxone trainings out in the community. That's a big piece. And also going back to the peers, that team is also staffed with peers that again can get out and speak to people in a really real and direct way. And like you said, give them that hope that you might be struggling now, but hope is possible. And they are living proof of that.
That's just incredible. And I know, Kyle, you had said, you know, we were talking during the break, and, you know, of course, the suicide piece, you know, goes into this. And I know you wanted to touch upon some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nobody really wants to talk
Yeah.
about suicide, but
Yeah.
we have to.
Yeah.
I just want to highlight some official stats that I found. So, as far as the veterans, official statistics on veteran suicide in 23 and 24 have not been released. The most recent data is from the 2023 National Veteran Suicide Prevention Annual Report. And that states that in 2021, the report documented that there were 6,392 veteran suicides.
Oh my gosh.
That was an increase of 114 deaths from the previous years. So, like we said a couple times during the show, it's okay to not be okay. And I just want to let the viewers know that I want to give everybody my phone number. So if everybody can grab a pen real quick and a notepad, my direct number is 516-246-0621. That is to my work cell phone. And if you are or know somebody who is in crisis, give me a buzz. But if it's urgent, obviously call 911.
Always, right?
We do have the National Veterans Crisis Line is 988. And you're going to press option 1.
You know, you hear a number, 6,392. That's 6,392 individuals who impacted probably 20,000 other people, families, friends, whatever. That's a lot of people. It's not just a number. You know, we throw numbers around like, you know, like they're rubber balls basically, but they're big numbers. You know, it's sad. It really is.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important, you know, to talk about it and to connect people. And, you know, I love like I mean, if you go to my house, everything says hope, right? I think Dan and Otto can know there's always some kind of inspirational saying somewhere. But I really love that because I think that is so important, especially like no matter what you're dealing with, not knowing, just knowing there is hope and there's a light and there's connection and
Yeah.
this peer support piece, is my favorite kind of method in general. I just think you guys are really doing incredible things. And this center, I think, is going to be a game changer for the community.
Yeah.
Because I just think about all the people that have been in crisis and literally have nowhere to go, so it's just really, really special.
But now, do you get involved with any, like I read somewhere, I think at 5-year-old and up, it doesn't matter how old somebody is?
Yeah, we do, the majority of our services are focused on people over 18, but our clinic that I mentioned that's in Hicksville, they regularly see children. I think as young as 5, we have child psychologists, child therapists. We also have a lot of partnerships with schools throughout the island. We have partnerships with BOCES. So we're providing many different levels of services in the schools, either acting as a point of resource for people, like if the social workers in the school come across a very challenging case that they need our support with, we can kind of act as consults and provide resources. We also can provide direct services to the schools, and do also a lot with education. We've been presented to parents, to teachers, we provide workshops at PTA meetings, again, just to keep this message going, talk about mental health, talk about what kids might be struggling and with what they can do in the schools or as parents to help.
One of my granddaughters is a social worker in a school. All right. And just yesterday, I spent an hour with her talking about a serious crisis that they had in the school, which I'm not going to get into. And it was bad. I mean, it was somebody threatening to kill somebody, and the mental health stuff that goes on in schools is a heavy duty also. And we've obviously seen results of some of these problems. You're all involved in a very worthy world.
Yeah,
we need help.
Absolutely.
And now I could talk to you guys all day long, but I'm like, oh my God, the time's almost out. Is there other services that you wanted to mention that are available? I know there's so many that are there.
Like I said, there's over 60.
What is PROS program? That sounded like it was like
PROS.
Yeah.
Our PROS program. That's like a day program that I actually oversee. So it's near and dear to my heart. Working with people that are coming to us from the hospital, sometimes from like long-term hospitalizations and transitioning back into the community. It's like a day program. So we have our clients there every day with us. We run groups and individual therapy and medication. And it's a really special place.
Kinds of focus
yes. Main is
like
mental health.
If I had a knee replacement,
come to PROS to say hi, but maybe not for your treatment.
I was can I just come by?
Yeah, there are like qualifying diagnoses for that, but it's a special place.
No, but your focus is again
mental health
with the mental health part of it. If
and helping people get jobs,
stay somewhere.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
Yeah, helping them kind of transition and hopefully to stay out of the hospital and be successful and make some, whatever progress looks like for them and whatever recovery looks like for them, we support them.
But I think that's what, interviewing guys really showed me that kind of like from soup to nuts, you guys are with the person, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I just think it's really a cool thing, that, if someone is, because so many times you're getting passed around but to have someone in your corner say, okay, listen, we're going to connect you, we're going to follow up and we're going to get you in the right place, I think is so incredibly important. I know for myself, even, it's like, you just want to have that contact, you're comfortable. And especially, Kyle, with you and veterans, having you in their corner. I mean, having you go to an intake appointment, is a huge relief in someone's life, so it's these like little things that seem, trivial, really can make or break someone getting the help that they need, which is just, is incredible.
It's impossible for the public to be educated about all the opportunities for help that are out there, and they really need like a Project Independence, or it sounds like you are all in the same category, where you have a place to go to that will help you cut through the stuff. I got involved with this program because my mother lived with us for 11 years. All right, my wife and I were working. And as time evolved, my mother had problems and this and that. So now what? Where do you go? You look back in those days, you look in the yellow pages and maybe find somebody. to help you, but it would have been helpful to
Yeah,
have
you
a
have that
Project
advocate in that
Independence,
person
which is
in
why
your-
I got involved, because I think the value of that is it's worth a fortune.
Listen, and I think the overall message is hope is around the corner.
Yes.
And you can always contact. Thank you both. I want to give special thanks to Caitlin Roeder and Kyle St. John from CN Guidance and Counseling Services. We'd also like to thank everyone today who has joined us. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. Thank you both.
Thank you.